Today we're going to start with talking about the event activity calendar. We're going to start with a little introduction of our guest speaker, who will talk a little bit, and then talk a little bit about the extra events that you can add to your calendar and any questions after that. So all area directors have access to this calendar. Aaron Mills is our Senior Director of Marketing and Communications. He's going to tell you a little bit about how to add events, what it looks like on his end, how to get to the calendar and editing it. This is our third training on sort of the website stuff. So take it away, Mills.
All right. Let's see here. Okay, so first off, when we get to the training here, everybody hear me fine? I just want to double check. Looks like I should be good. All right, cool. I'm going to share with you some steps on how to kind of go through working on adding events to your calendar page and what it looks like on my end once we try to start doing some things like that. So the first step, I know I think Janelle's got a page, Pat's got a page that Access that have already added some calendar events. So we're just gonna kind of step through some things real quick. For anybody who's kind of watching this on a replay or is curious, the first step is to send an email to me, aaron.mills@somi.org, and just ask for Access, and I will set up and create an account for you to kind of go through the steps on how to add things to your calendar. So once you have an account established for you, you will log into the SOMI website, somi.org/user. And once you're logged in with the information that you set up, it's as simple as going to the top corner of the screen, clicking on content, and then this list here actually shows all of the content on the Special Olympics Michigan website. So these are all sorts of different pages and resources. You don't need to worry about that. Once you're on this main content page, the one thing you need to do is click this Add Content button. And you'll be given a few choices. Coach, where you can add information about certain coaches on your area pages. There are ways to link coaches to different sports where it will show that that coach is involved with that sport and can include contact information on them. You can enter their information there. Event, which is what we'll go over here, which is adding different types of events, linking them to your area page, as well as the Special Olympics Michigan website itself. And resource, which is adds a resource to the Special Olympics Michigan website, which will give you the option to add something like if you had an event flyer or some other type of item that you wanted specific to your area, you can click on the resource button right there, and then it'll allow you to upload documents to your web page as well. So what we're going to concentrate here on first is the event. So once you're logged in, you click on content, you go add content, and then you click on event. And we're just going to kind of step through making a test event here just so you can see what that looks like. And so we're just going to make up a title, GMS training, calendar items. And if there's an asterisk next to any of these items, it's a required item. You won't be able to submit your web event unless you have that information filled in. So we're gonna add a date here. You can just click here, you can type it in, or you can select it from the drop down on the calendar as well. You have your start date, you have your start time, we'll say 8:00 p.m. If you want to, you can put an end date and end time. If it was a multi-day event, you could have it stretch across here. If you have an exact end time, you can enter that as well. If you have a description, you can enter it into this section here. Oops, if you can try to type. This will be the world's most amazing GMS training that has absolutely nothing to do with GMS training. It's going to be so good that everyone's going to want to be sure they tune in for this one. Your next item that you have, you can of course adjust You need to make it bold or adjust your text larger. We want this to be a big giant text because it's so amazing. Your event address, you need to make sure that you do have an address listed. So the reason that you need to have an address listed for your item is that on the calendar event itself, it will show the ability to add it to your calendar. So if you were looking at the event on your phone, once it was on the website, you can add it to Google Calendar, and it will therefore add it to, or whatever calendar you're using on your phone, automatically add it to your calendar, and will include the address and everything right in the calendar item. And if it's something where you set it up to give you alerts the day of, then your phone will let you know, oh, hey, 45 minutes till it starts, and things like that. So this amazing GMS training is happening at 123 Eunice Kennedy Parkway, of course, in the city of Olympic Town. And that's based out of Massachusetts, actually. No, it's based out of, we'll go with the Marshall Islands. Sure, we can go with the Marshall Islands. We'll choose Michigan, and we share the same zip code as Mount Pleasant does Olympic Town. All right, you don't need a phone number. If you have an exact contact person, you can include that in there. If there's a contact email address, you can include that as well. If this was an event where you had a separate website link for it, for example, if you had some sort of local golfing fundraiser that you were doing and there was some sort of online registration link and you wanted to include that information right here, you could include the website address. We'll just go classy.org, which is what we have for our online fundraising link, and you can just call this registration link to GMS training. So the link text is required, but only if you have a link. You can also include up to 5 different event files. So if you had any PDF files, some spreadsheets, Word docs, images, anything you wanted to attach to this, it would also show up on that as well. For the event type, there are different types of events that you can choose to have this listed as. You can have it as fundraisers, you can have it as practices, you can have it as competitions, all sorts of different options. All of the options are listed in the how-to guide that is emailed to people when you first request access to be able to have the ability to add things to your calendar. One of the most important sections next is the event location. And so you want to make sure that you select your correct area in order to make sure that it shows up on your area's page. So if you were doing your event in Area 5, you want to make sure that you're selecting Area 5 for it to show up on your page. It'll also show up on the main Special Olympics Michigan calendar, but in order for it to appear on your page, you just have to make sure that you select Area 5. If this was some sort of sporting event that was happening, you can also include different sports. Just start to type in the name of your sport and it'll pop up. This one, GMS training, we're doing a unified bocce GMS training on this one. So we're going to go with bocce. And then from here, you can add other additional sports if there were more sports. We're also going to do golf on this one because nothing goes to, you can't spell GMS without golf or something. So the next option here at the very end, you can save it as a draft if you need to keep working on it. But when you're all set, you've got all your information ready to go. You, from the Save As drop-down menu, you go down to Ready for Review, and then you hit Save. If you want to, you can hit the preview button, and that'll show you what it looks like on the calendar, on the page itself. This is just kind of a test of what it'll show for you. It'll show the address, the time. This is your registration link. As we said here, we typed in registration link to GMS. We made the text extremely large for everybody, which obviously looks great. Now, when you do see this on the actual website itself, this little bar here that says full won't be there. That's just part of the preview itself. But as you see down here, it also shows add to calendars. It lists the area, and then it lists the sports that we included there as well. So we'll click back to content editing. And then we're going to go down. And as we said, it looked good to us. So we're going to go ahead and say ready for review. And then we're going to click save. And so now the screen that pops up just kind of shows you that right now this item is ready for review. And what that means is that the website has now sent a notification to the Senior Director of Marketing Communications, Aaron Mills, to let him know that he needs to do his job. So on our end, what we need to now do on Special Olympics side in order to make sure that your calendar event gets added is we will switch it over to, I believe you're seeing the correct one now. On our end is on our end, when I'm logged into the website, I will now have a list of content that shows up for me to approve. And so the item we just submitted.
Mills, I think we're still looking at the.
Oh, sorry. I will. Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry. Let's go here. Better?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Sorry. So we will go on my end. It'll looks very similar to when you logged in, except I have an option for moderated content. And so what it shows to me is any events that have been submitted. And so I see an item here, GMS training calendar items. It's an event. It was created by Area 25, which they have never lost any competition in the history of the past 7 years that I've been at Special Olympics Michigan. So undefeated, Area 25. So what I will do is I will then take a look at the item. I'll just give it a quick scan, make sure everything looks good. Okay, it was sent by Area 25. Really, we'll just say it was sent by Area 5. So I want to make sure that this was submitted by the correct area. Everything looks good. Everything's in there, looks good. So on my end, I will then click published and save. And now on the SOMI website itself, we will have an item showing up on the calendar, which is our GMS training. And so now when people log into the website, they'll automatically see this item showing up, GMS training. They'll see all the calendar information here as well. So when you're logged into the website, as I am right now, there are some other things that don't exactly appear as they are to everyone else, like this view, edit, delete, revisions, clone button. Those do not show up in the to a normal viewer of the website. So that's just kind of on our end, so we can edit things as we need to. So I'm going to pop back over to the browser that we had logged in as our area account here. I'm going to refresh this page and see what things look like now. So now that page shows, yep, sure enough, it exists. And there it is.
There's no windows open, just a door there.
So nice and easy. You can do the same, add content, add events, do the same thing over and over again. Now, I will say, if you had some items that you wanted to, let's see, where is it? Excuse me. If you wanted to add any sort of items that were a resource of some kind, say on the bottom of your page, you wanted to include some items in your area resources page, such as anything different. This Area 30s page, for example, has a bunch of documents listed on it. If there was some sort of document you wanted to add to your website itself, you can actually do something similar by adding content, adding a resource, and then typing in the name, uploading a file, or if it's a link to a website. If you don't want it to show up on the main Special Olympics Michigan resources page, if you just want it to show up only on your areas page, you can check this. You can choose what type of resource it is, a category for it, whether it has something to do with results, if it has something to do with GMS instructions, if it's related to athletes or coaches. And then just like in the web event, you can type in any corresponding sports or any sort of area as well. Here at the bottom, make sure that it has your correct area listed. And at that point, then you go ready to review, and then it'll go to me, and then I'll make sure that it is an actual item, that you didn't accidentally upload some pictures of your vacation to the Bahamas to the item instead. And then you're good to go there. I do want to show you guys a couple of options, some good examples of some things that some of the areas have. A few areas have on their web pages. So right now, areas have the ability to add events to their web pages. We don't give people access to edit any other major content on their web page at the current time. The reason being, we just want to make sure people are comfortable with adding events in the first place. And then if they kind of show that, yeah, they can handle that, then we're more than happy to, at some point, we'll go through some training where we can show people the ins and outs of editing the web pages. It's fairly easy, but it's just one of those things where we want to make sure that people are comfortable with the website itself before handing the keys over. You gotta earn your learner's permit here before you can get your license to drive the website. So I do want to show you some good examples of some ways that some areas have some information displaying on their web pages in case you have any desire to make any similar adjustments of your own. Now, at one point, Area 30 contacted me, and they told me that they would like to include some coach information and some practice information about some of their specific sports. And so one of the easy ways that we are able to do that is by adding this information to the pages themselves. So under each sport, normally on a sport, if you check out a web page that doesn't have anything adjusted, you'll kind of see these sideways triangles where you would click on it and it would take you to that sport to let you know exactly information about that sport and whether there's any information, whether that sport's available in your area. I'm currently logged in as the Area 8, or that I was looking at Area 8, so that was my default area on that page, which is why it said Area 8 does not offer cycling at this time. But anyway, Area 30's page, they wanted to, as I mentioned, add some information for coaches and practices. So what you notice on here, this actually shows a plus. Well, if you click on that plus, it will list a coach. It will list that practices take place during the month of January and that the contact is this person's email. For swimming, they wanted this specific information. Practices take place Wednesday evenings from October through May at this middle school. So they just wanted to make sure that they had this information here as kind of a one-stop shop. If you have any questions about golf, contact John Teal right here with his email address. So that's just kind of one more option of ways that you can add information to specific sports. Because the goal is to try to get as much useful information on your webpage as possible, so you're not answering the same question over and over, and just kind of, we know your time is very valuable, so to be able to prevent you from having to answer all those questions over and over again, the goal is to do just that. Area 30 did just kind of have a little bit of basic info they wanted on their webpage. When we go through and we also enter on our end whether or not there are unified champion schools in a local programs area. For Area 30, they have a couple of schools that are in their area that are linked to the Area 30 region, and then they also offer young athletes as well. Now, when we go to the bottom of the Area 5 calendar, if they had any events, they would be listing here for any Area 30 events, as well as any potential state events happening as well. And they have their resources down here as well. I am going to go quick to show you just real briefly here the Area 34 page. Carrie wanted us to, she didn't necessarily want any specific information linked with each sport, but she did want some specific information for parents and volunteers and some fundraising info. And so we just kind of made some paragraphs for her. She sent us the information. We translated that, and it was pretty easy, about a 5-minute fix to her webpage, and she was good to go. They also kind of have a specific for them registration form that they use for athletes to gather some information when they are interested that they wanted on here, which they were able to. They emailed me to add this one, but they could have actually added that one through the content resources page as well. So a few examples of some things you can do outside of the calendar. But again, for any sort of information that you want added outside of calendars, just be sure to drop me an email, aaron.mills@somi.org. And typically I will be pretty quick to answer any of your questions or anything that you need. Any sort of calendar events, I usually am quick to turn those around within one business day. My wife will tell you that I do a bad job of continuing to check my work during the weekends as well. So potentially quicker than one business day as well. But if you need anything in a pinch, just drop me an email, and I'm pretty accessible that way if you need anything. But that pretty much just kind of a quick spin of ways that you can add things. If anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to take those. Or Mary, if you want, I can just kind of hand the wheel back to you.
Aaron, I have a question. This is Sue from Area 23.
Oh, yeah.
If you put an event on the state website, how can you also put it on your area webpage? Can you do that as well? Or does that automatically do both at the same time?
Yep. So, for instance, state events such as the if we had the state fall games happening, those would appear on your area page as well as on the main specialist calendar. So those main state events, when I create those, I make sure that those are included on the area pages as well. So you don't have to necessarily go in and add those.
But what we host a lot of tournaments. So when I want tournaments posted on our webpage, not so much on the state, probably on the state event calendar too.
It'll show up. It'll automatically show up on there as well. Yeah. Yep. So for you just want to make sure that you select your area, and then, if you were having a regional tournament or a district tournament or something, and there were multiple areas included on it, if you had, area, 20 and 15 were competing with you as well, you could click those areas as well.
Okay.
And then it would show up on their area page as well.
Okay.
Yep. And for something like that, I make sure when it comes in that it's not listing that same event somewhere else. So if, for instance, Area 15 put in that information before you, and it was pretty much the same info, I would probably just take one of those events that were submitted between the two areas, just make sure that it was showing up that same info on the same pages, instead of having, there's this tournament, and then it's listed again, and then listed again. So anyway, it would just be one item that's listed on multiple pages.
All right. Thank you.
We had a question in the comments from Janelle. If I am the person adding to our calendar, will it sync automatically with my Area 9 SOMI calendar on my phone?
I guess I don't know what the Area 9 SOMI calendar is.
Aaron, I have on my smartphone, because I get my emails sent there, I also have the Area 9 calendar. So if I put something on my calendar, like if I just do an event for let's just say a management meeting, it's not automatically going to go on to this calendar, but does it do it vice versa? Like if I let's just say I put something out there for anybody to see,
Mhm.
will it automatically show up on my calendar then?
So if you submitted a calendar event on the SOMI website, you were just curious if it would show up like on your calendar as well?
Yeah, is it going to show up on my SOMI calendar, which is just, it's through my email, my SOMI email?
So it will not automatically show up. However, if you were to go to the, let me grab the wheel again real quick. Let me share the screen, go back to sharing this. All right, so if we're looking back at this GMS training, so say you submitted this item. So it won't automatically show up on here, but if you click add to Google Calendar, add to iCal, whatever you're using, say your Google Calendar, if you click add to Google Calendar, then it automatically loaded up my SOMI web email with all of the information that's in here. 123 Eunice Kennedy Parkway, the world's most amazing GMS training. And then all you have to do is just click save, and then it is in your calendar.
Okay, that works. I just don't want to have duplicates because that drives
Yep.
me crazy.
Yep, it won't be. So it would only show up in your actual calendar if you click the button on that web page to add it to your calendar. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions at this point? Okay. So did that go big for everyone?
Yep.
Okay. So now we're going to talk about some events that you can add. So he gave a little examples of what to call them, but like for sports, you could put in the date, time, and location of practices if there's multiple locations. Deadlines for sport signups, if you have those before your individual sports seasons, if you want them signed up before practices start. Sport assessment days, if you have any of those. Any area games and any regional games. I believe regional games may already be on the SOMI website, but if you have any specific or anything for yourself, you can also add it. You could also do fundraisers, any Polar Plunge fundraising dates that you have. If they're outside of Polar Plunge, all of the Polar Plunge fundraisers are on the SOMI website already on the calendar, so those will show up. Any can drives you might have, I know that's very popular right now. Any start and stop days of fundraisers, if you want anything only between these days, that's a good way to notify people when that is. And any other area specific fundraising events that aren't through Special Olympics Michigan or LETR, because those will already be on the website and the calendars. Some other things, just some ideas are maybe some socials, like if you have ice cream parties, fun area events, movie nights. I know right now these aren't too big because we want to keep social distancing, but any Zoom calls you might have, Zoom parties, anything on your social media you'll be planning. You could also put these on the website so that anyone that visits your page will know any socials coming up and how to get more socially involved in your area. So our final real point is that we just really want to stress that each of you are utilizing your social media in different ways to keep your athletes and families up to date on events, especially right now with everything going on. We can't meet in person, so the best way to keep people active on the pages and excited about Special Olympics and excited about doing something, social media is really the best way to do that. I know almost every area, if not every area, has a Facebook page. There's different events that you can do that. You can host videos and meetings with people to kind of keep everyone excited about SOMI and your area You also could have all of the events that you put on the calendar. You can make them Facebook events too. So that way you can share them along that. This presentation also includes step-by-step instructions, and those are also found in your agendas that you got yesterday. So you can download this or download that agenda, and you'll have step-by-step instructions on how to do that as well. But again, if you have any questions ever, you can always come to myself, Jill, or Julia, or Mills for those. So our next session is going to be on recruitment and communication with coaches and athletes. That's going to be session 7. It'll be on August 11th from 5:30 to around 6:30. These are our final contact information. If you have any questions about any training, anything with GMS, let us know and we can help you out.